Hello, everybody. Let's take a look at Love in a Life by Robert Browning. So we'll start with some context. So Robert Browning, very famous British poet, lived between 1812 and 1889, and we could refer to him as a Victorian poet, one of the foremost British Victorian poets. So at some point in your essay, try to refer to him as a Victorian poet. He was famously married to Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Although that doesn't seem to be too relevant to the poem, what perhaps is relevant is the fact that the Victorian Britain was a time of very rigid morals, in which people were expected to behave in a very correct and proper way, and therefore this poem might seem to shock the Victorian reader by presenting the more sort of savage and primitive urges that we might have within a romantic relationship. The poem is published in 1855 and it takes the form of a dramatic monologue. It is written in the voice of one particular person, this man, and it presents a strong set of emotions and is also narrative in sense. It's painting a picture, it's telling a story. Okay, so we'll go into the poem. Now, the poem is written from the perspective of a man who is walking around a house and looking for the woman that he loves. And he's in quite an agitated state. He's quite upset. Now, he says, room after room, I hunt the house through. Now, that verb hunt is a strong word. It's a kind of animalistic image, and it shows the desperation with which he looks for this woman for whom he is searching. Okay, so he hunts. Now, that might seem to be overly obsessive to us as a reader, perhaps. He says, heart, fear nothing, for heart thou shalt find her. So he seems determined that he will find her. What he does here is he personifies his own heart and he talks to his own heart. He tells him his own heart to fear nothing. Now, the heart has connotations of love. We use phrases like heartbroken, heartache, I love you with all my heart. So the heart has these clear connotations of love. And what that's doing is it's serving to strengthen the feeling that he seems to have. Now, he uses this imperative phrase, fear nothing. And that imperative verb, fear, he's telling his heart what to do. He's telling his heart to fear nothing. And maybe what that reveals is that he's actually quite desperate to not be scared, to not be afraid that he's lost the woman that he loves. So his use of the imperative phrase shows just how desperate he is to not go through all of these negative feelings. One of the important things that you can look at in the poem is the use of the personification of the house. Okay, so numerous things in this first stanza are personified. So the couch has a perfume, the couch has a smell. The cornice wreath, which you will find in a house at the meeting point of the ceiling and the wall, is blossoms. It grows and flowers as if it's alive. The looking glass, the mirror gleams. It's like this house is somehow a living entity. Now, he's searching the house for her, and he seems to see the house somehow as a symbol of her. So the fact that the house is coming to life tells me that his feelings are very vivid, and his desire to find her in the house is so strong that the house seems to come alive to him. The last thing about these words is the use of the word perfume. Now, smell is one of the most unavoidable of all our senses. If you see something, you might close your eyes and it's gone. But smell is very visceral. It's very intense. Can be unavoidable at times. Now, Moving on to the second stanza, the optimism very much changes and switches to pessimism. And part of that is the imagery of the end of the day. So I've used the word crepuscular imagery. Now, something is crepuscular if it relates to the beginning of the day, which is called dawn, or the end of the day, which is called dusk. Now, dawn and dusk are the two types of twilight. That kind of half light that you get at the beginning and the end of the day. Now, the speaker talks about the day ending, the light fading. Look at these two quotes in green. The day wears, the day grows tired, the day is coming to an end, and also twilight. So there's a sense, I think, of as the day fades out, so does the light, and so does therefore his hope. And maybe even their love is fading out like the light of the day. Okay? The last quote I would focus on in my essay is this phrase, she goes out as I enter. So we don't learn her name at any point. The anonymous pronoun she is used, and that creates a sense of him possibly losing her or even not knowing her, not able to use her name, but instead using the anonymous pronoun. The second thing is that as he enters, she goes out. So the distance between them, it at least stays the same and possibly even expands, and the distance grows farther between them. Now, their physical distance seems to tell us something about their emotional distance. Okay, so if we want to think about the structure of this poem, there's two things I'd probably focus on. One is the fact that the poem is split up into two stanzas, and we can call them octaves. There's a separation of the two octaves, and I think that reflects the separation of these two people, the separation of the speaker and the subject of the poem. They separate. The second thing is this regular rhyme scheme, A, B, C, D, D, A, B, C. So the rhyme scheme remains regular, and what that achieves is it creates a sense of consistency or something being constant, like his constant searching for her. He continues to search for her just as the rhyme scheme continues. And I think that's enough for us to write a very excellent essay about this poem.